Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I'm up here seasoning chicken, got my groceries delivered, half the apples destroyed, so I made them refund me on those. You know how that goes. But I was thinking about something, man, as I've been talking a lot about the discrediting of, I hope this isn't too loud. If it is, please forgive me. I'm just doing a real life thing over here, but discrediting players who are in this era of the sports betting priority of things, where they're inflating the scoring and putting players in a position to look as if they're historically greater scorers than they are because of the lack of defense and the rules and all of these different things. I was listening to Carcino talk about it right now, and it prompted me to speak, as I always tell you guys. And you know, it's one of those situations where it's like, I agree, man. I think these guys over time, it's going to get to a point where, because they put so much emphasis on the sports betting and so much emphasis on scoring, to when they do come around to realizing that that's not really the way to go, when they change things again, which things always do change, they're going to discredit a lot of the players who played the era. And that's my point of view. I really do think that a lot of these guys are going to be disappointed when they've been considered first ballot and second ballot Hall of Famers throughout their entire careers, and then they get to that time in their lives at the end and they're like, nah, we think you are great, but you played in the era where sports betting was prioritized and Adam Silver was doing things a certain way, so we're going to give the first ballot to the guy that came after you, who's also very dope, and we're going to make sure that they get prioritized over some of you guys from 2022 and 2023 who was really running it. But I mean, look at the scores. They were 160 to 155. I mean, we were clearly bullcrapping with what we were doing. And so in comparison to them other eras, these guys are going to be discredited. And that's what I see coming. That's what I'm trying to prepare everybody for, trying to get them to fight for your balance, fight for the right to not have easy mode turned all the way up so that they could compromise what it is that they're doing for the betterment of their money. Because at the end of the day, you guys are going to be weighed against people who were not a part of those eras, and it ain't going to be fair for you. That's what I'm trying to press. That's what I'm preaching, man. That's what I'm trying to tell all the talent of today, the Luka Doncic, all those guys that are playing in this era right now, who are in their prime and killing it. You should very much be fighting for the rules to go back to, if not to the way they were in the 80s and 90s, at least to the way they were during the Kobe era, or some sweet medium that isn't a lack of defense. Because the problem that the reason why I know you guys are going to be discredited, this is what the main point is because they're not allowing defense to be played. So when you start looking at guys who are going to score 60 and 70 points when defense gets played again, they're going to look at you guys and say them 70 points wasn't worth a damn. They weren't worth a damn because they didn't allow people to defend anybody. They didn't let you do nothing. They didn't let guys, they had the travel rules moved a certain way. They didn't let certain things are in place right now, specifically for right now. And I'm telling you, when we get past this era and people realize that compromising the sport for the betterment of sports betting was not a good thing from the jump and will continue to be a bad thing, and we're going to see why very soon. And they're going to get rid of it, just like they did in the first place. And then from there, we're going to see for a fact that what I'm saying is true, that they're going to discredit these guys in this era. It's going to take some time because people are making money and they're enjoying making money. But just like everything else that's based on betting, it's going to get compromised and then it's going to have crime get involved, because that's what happens when you let people bet. This is what I always say about money, man. This is the problem with this type of thing. And we are not in a space where it's common to say this, but it's true. If you allow people to bet or do certain things that involve money, compromising what it is that's in competition, what you end up having happen is eventually crime. Other types of crime get involved. Eventually people start getting mad about whatever not being compromised properly, and they start pushing against other things to make sure it gets done. And it just doesn't end with people messing with numbers. It never does. This is why betting was never any good for us in the first place, but they brought it back in. The greed of it all always allows sin into the situation, and then we start prioritizing that sin as if the math is going to add up. And I'm telling you, it's the idea that religion is no good and all of that allows people to do things that are inaccurate in nature, and then they lose sight of why they shouldn't. It's not because of some deity in the sky. It's because when you do things a certain way, you compromise what it ultimately is, your foundation, and then from there it falls apart. This is why you ask for and look and seek for balance in all things. Because if you don't, what are you going to find? There's an imbalance. And that imbalance is going to have to be made up for in the back end. So we let sports betting back into the game. Everybody's making money, and now everybody's cheating the game because of it. And of course, it plays itself out as it always does. It falls apart, it falls flat, and then we are learned the reasoning why we should have never done it in the first place. But people are making money. And so we know when people are making money, they think it can't stop. It's like, because we're making money, it's never going to stop. No, you're going to see the fruit and why it shouldn't be. Just like the last people who tried to saw it, why it shouldn't be done. And they failed, and they learned a lesson that we seem to have forgotten. So, it is what it is, man. Sports betting and sports should not exist together. They don't belong in the same space because a sport is a science that needs not be compromised in order to be played properly and evolve properly. And when you start compromising things, and you start putting the sport itself in a position to be compromised because of the betting, then it becomes about the money. Then it becomes about whether or not we can secure funds for other situations by way of what it is we're doing here. Because even though I'm betting over here and it's a game of chance, where the money is over there can't be a game of chance. So we got to compromise this to ensure that gets taken care of. And you got to understand that it's the real world we're in. That's why sports betting is trash. Because you know damn well certain things have to be secured. You can't play with certain money. But everybody's playing with all money. So there you have it. So it's just common sense, man. When you see people engaging in stuff that you know is going to fail them, you just watch them. You watch them. They're running straight for a brick wall. The NBA is going to find out that this doesn't work. It doesn't work, bro. Because where does it end? If you allow people to bet, who gets to bet? Everybody, right? Players, coaches, refs, owners, everybody. Oh, you tell them they can't? So you open up the environment for them to do it under the table then. Since you tell them they can't do it, but everybody else can. And you think they won't. When they're in control of the whole thing, and there's so much money to be made, you think they won't. This is what I'm talking about. It's like, what are you allowing to have happen, NBA? And then when it goes bad, it's like, oh, well, we were making money. There you were. And now the money's gone. I mean, it's just like any other thing that you involve yourself in that is morally iffy. Math ain't gonna add up. This is not. You can try. It might work for a time. It may work for a long time. But eventually the rubber meets the road, and you have to fix what is ultimately compromised based on the prioritization of money. You have to fix it. So there you go. That's what happens. And the guys that get drug along for the ride are the ones that get discredited. It's a shame, man, because they really think they're as good as Jordan. They really telling, Luka Doncic and all these guys, oh, you're the greatest player ever. It's not something you can prove, brother. They don't allow you to prove that. That's the problem. They're not allowing him to prove it. Tell him he's the greatest thing ever, but then they don't allow nobody to guard him. See what I'm saying? He's the greatest shooter ever, but he wasn't playing with the same shooters as Reggie. He didn't have the same defense on him as Reggie Miller. He didn't have the same defense. You see what I'm saying? How's this guy the greatest shooter ever? Well, ain't nobody guarding his shots. He don't have a hand in his face 20 times out of 30. He don't have a hand in his face. But he's as good as so-and-so. I feel bad for defensive players because they're the ones at the most disadvantage. They get ostracized out the league because they play defense. That's their gift. And guess what this era doesn't allow? They better learn how to hit a shot. You can't contribute to scoring, you can't play. No, it's not that you're not a great player. It's just the era defines you as not able to play. This is the times we're in. You need to be able to do this to play professional, even though you do that at a level that's much higher than anything we've ever seen at that. And you would probably destroy the league if they just allow you to be featured the way you're supposed to. But they're never going to do that because you can't space the floor. And that means you cannot play ball. That's currently defined. It's a bullcrap era. Where people can travel and take 3 steps back behind the 3-point line, but can't move their pivot foot at all. Your planted foot rather. You can't move it. You can do a Euro step where you're moving the ball all different types of ways, stomping and twirling and traveling all the way. They'll let it happen. Damn near carrying the ball like a football in your hands as you waltzing toward the rim. You can do that. But dare not pivot. Dare not let that planted foot even twist ever so slightly. Apparently, you're walking. Today's NBA. That's why I'm telling you, these guys gonna get discredited. These rules are garbage. It is absolute trash what they're doing to these guys. Hyping them up like they so great. You know these dudes gonna have trouble. You know they're gonna have trouble when it's time for them to get the accolades. In the end, when it's time for them to get that jacket, it's gonna be like, hey, sports betting era, taking that to account. You know, we're inflated. So we're discrediting them to this degree. Watch, they can come up with some stat that says, well, in comparison to those eras, actually, you know it's coming. The stat actually shows us that really, if they would have had a certain type of defense, they were actually on the level of so-and-so. So we've equated it to make it sense now. As to where in 2023, we didn't have it in mind. But now we got the perfect equation to show that these dudes is only half of what it is they actually displayed. So we're not putting him in the Hall of Fame. He ain't getting the statue. He ain't going up. No telling what they're going to do in that regard. They may even strip y'all of y'all championships. Who knows where they'll take it when they find out how compromised this crap actually is, for which I can clearly see. I'm trying to help somebody. BDL 44. Thank you all for watching.